All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you are doing well. I know many of you are probably trapped in your homes with your families and looking for some fresh faces. So today I'm here with Chuck Ingram. You may have seen him interviewing some of our other speakers. And Shep Hyken, who I'm so excited to have on today. Shep is a New York Times bestselling author. I have one of his books here.
Yay, I love that book.
I do too. My other favorite is Convenience Revolution. That's on my Kindle, so it's a little harder to hold up. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's probably my favorite. But Shep is kind enough to join us, and we're going to pick his brain about customer experience and why it matters right now. So not why it mattered before the situation we're in today, and not necessarily why it matters in a future world, but the context of today. Because sometimes, at least for me, customer experience sounds expensive. It sounds like a luxury, and we're down to bare bones of how we live life. So we're just going to dive in, unless, Shep, I missed anything key about introducing you.
No, I mean, hey, and thanks for the plugs on the book. Convenience Revolution is one of my favorites as well. You know, The Moments of Magic is the first book I wrote. The one you hold in your hand is the updated version from like 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to get hold of somebody quickly, fax them. Well, that's what the original version is. and my email address back then was CompuServe with a long number or something like that, no longer at CompuServe.com. But Chuck, does everybody know who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Chuck Ingram. I think Shep and I and Jessica loves 80s music too. Shep and I are both guitar guys, so I'm excited for this conversation. And so my thing is CRM. My company, we created it to help people get more value out of their CRM so that they can create amazing experiences. Because sometimes that technology trips people up and doesn't help them.
Yep.
True. Hashtag Def Leppard. Had to get my little plug in.
That's serious 80s rock. That could be 70s rock too.
Yeah, a little bit at the end. Yeah.
Borderline. Okay, so we're going to dive in and start picking at Shep's brain. The first question I have is actually related to the book that I have in front of me, because you often talk about moments of magic. I've followed you on LinkedIn and Twitter forever, and it's something that you bring up. Can you talk about what these are and how they can be useful, especially today in the current context?
Sure, and I think they're really useful in every era, good, bad, and different. So moments of magic I've been talking about since I started my business. It's this idea I came up with. So it goes a long way back. I read an article by a gentleman named Jan Carlson, the former president of Scandinavian Airlines, who wrote an article about how he turned his airline around using this concept he called the moment of truth. And he defined the moment of truth as any time a customer comes into contact with any aspect of a business, they form an impression. And that moment of truth, according to him, can be good or bad. Now, think about it if you're flying on an airline. Back in the day, you didn't go online to make a reservation, although that's a moment of truth, the way you interact with the website. But back then, you actually picked up the phone and talked to a person. And then way back then, you actually would get your ticket information and have to go to a ticket office between the time you made the reservation and the flight. And then on the day of departure, you got to the airport, you could check in at the curb, go into the gate agent. All of these are moments of truth. And then, of course, there's little ones in between that are more marketing related, things that you don't necessarily interact with the airline, but you are engaged with them. Maybe it's signage. Anyway, he went on to explain that, you know, the passenger then gets checked in, sees a gate agent, gets on the plane, greeted the destination, gets their bags. All of those are major touch points. And he didn't realize, but that's what we call a journey map today, you know, and it was the travel industry. So the passenger truly took a journey, you know. Yeah. So you take a look at all of these touch points, and he said, manage these moments of truth. And he said, if you're not actually dealing directly with the passenger, you're supporting somebody that is, or you're involved and something behind the scenes that will impact the customer's experience, like somebody who takes the bag, checks it, and down below they scan the tag and put it on the right cart. Those people downstairs who are handling our bags never see our pretty faces, but if they don't do it right, they have major impact negatively on not only the passenger, but the poor person who has to sit in the baggage office dealing with angry passengers whose baggage is lost. So they have an internal customer as well. Anyway, I digress. So that's the moment of truth concept. And I said, okay, cool, moment of truth. They can be good or bad. And I actually came up with a third way. They can be average too, satisfactory, mediocre, nothing special. And I gave names to these moments of truth. The bad ones I call moments of misery. The good ones I call moments of magic. And the ones in the middle, the average ones, are moments of mediocrity. And the goal is to create a moment of magic. Anything better than average is a moment of magic. It could be way above average or just a tiny bit above average, but it's just as long as you manage your interactions to try to create a positive experience, which, by the way, might mean simply smiling at somebody, picking up the phone and returning a call quickly. You know, those are the kinds of things that are small. They seem unimportant, but when the customer says, wow, I can't believe you called me back so quickly, you know, that's not over the top. Well, maybe for some people it is, but, you know, and by the way, when something falls in your lap, maybe there's a huge problem and you're able to resolve it, and the customer says, wow, that was above what I expected. I mean, those are moments of magic too, but you can't wait for problems or, you know, hearing of those isolated opportunities to do something special. You must day in and day out create that positive, above average moment of magic. So there you go. Long explanation, but that's the whole background. Now you don't have to buy the book.
No, but it is. It's so important, taking those small moments and realizing the impact they can have. And as you mentioned, not just on the customer, but on the person who may have to address downstream.
Internal customers, you know, when I'm asked, you know, what's customer service, it's really a philosophy and a culture. It's everybody's involved. They just need to recognize who depends on them, be it an internal colleague or an outside customer.
Yeah.
Awesome. So a quick follow-up on the moments of magic. And I think it's even more important now. It's like we're getting all these things delivered to our houses now, and people are thinking more about subscriptions and things like that. So it seems like the journey and the experience is even more important. Can you talk about, when you did that, you talked about customer amazement and some of your writings and stuff. How do you achieve that, like, all the time over the duration of a relationship? Seems like it's pretty daunting.
Well, and by the way, I love that you mentioned the subscription model, which is a big, it's one of the 6 convenience principles out of the convenience revolution. But I want you to think that, you know, a customer goes on the journey with you, and there's multiple journeys. There's the first journey ever, I've done business with you. There's the repeat journey, when I come back and do business with you again. There's the, I have a problem, I'm going to call you or tweet you or message you to get support. There's that type of journey. So there's multiple journeys that these customers come into interaction with. So the first thing we want to do as an exercise is we want to journey map all of these out and take a look at the touch points at the top. That's where they interact. The customer interacts with you. And then also look behind the scenes at the impact points. This is everything inside an organization that impacts the touch point on the outside. So we'll go back to the airline example again. And I hope I'm going down the right course here with your question, because there was a lot there. But the airline, say, for example, I checked my bags and it goes underneath, and then somebody scans the tag, puts it on a cart, somebody drives it out to the plane, 2 or 3 people get it on the plane. And when it's finished, or when it's finished, when the plane lands, it's reversed until that bag doesn't, you know, get back to me at the baggage carousel. So could be 8, 10 people touch that bag. None of them see the customer, but they have to understand, if the touch point is receiving the bag at the baggage carousel, what's happening underneath are maybe 8 or 10 people are involved, multiple, you know, I guess for lack of a better term, there's a system with these different, you know, things that take place along the way. Every one of those need to be mapped out. And that is a big task. Doing the top line, you think, is a big task because you're looking for every little interaction. Well, take a look at what drives those. That's an even bigger test. But once you do that, everybody in the organization is going to represent the something in the customer's experience.
Yeah.
Everybody will know where they stand. They know where their department is. They know what their individual responsibilities are. So it is a little bit daunting when you think of it in that minutia detail, but the reality of it is big picture. Once you do it, it's there, and everybody can work toward understanding where their role is. So I don't know, Chuck, if that answers your question. I hope it does. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, lots of parts and pieces. So I know, I believe that delivering personalized customer experiences is uber important right now.
Mm-hmm.
How can businesses strategize and provide customized services to customers?
Sure. And I want to address two things here. So if I leave one of them out, remind me when I'm done.
Okay.
The second piece of this, I want to talk about what we can do to personalize an experience right now, especially in B2B world, not just B2C. So many times we're talking about B2C, and people in the B2B world are feeling left out. But the personalization comes in a couple of different ways. There's data that might be available to whoever is in front of the customer. And I use that word in front of, maybe they're on the phone or they're interacting via message, or they're in person. So they're interacting. And that data could come in the form of, I pull up your record and I see everything you've bought. And I know the last time you called, and I can see when you came in here the last time. All that type of data. And that's really relevant, so that I could say, hey, I noticed the last time you were here, you were looking at, these glasses. I don't notice you're not wearing them. Do you need another pair? I don't know. I'm just making this up, but there's an example of personalization. You remember the TV show? Hey, let's go back to an 80s reference, since you guys are 80s rockers. How about a TV show called Cheers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember the theme song? Where everybody
knows your name.
Knows your name.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be cool? This is what people really want. They want to do business with a place where everybody knows their name. And that's a metaphor where everybody knows, the company knows everything they can about me to create the best possible experience. They recognize me when I interact with them. They know what I bought before. They know what I'm going to ask for next. I mean, Norm would sit down in the Cheers bar and the drink would be there. He didn't have to ask for a specific drink. That's personalization. And Jessica used the word uber personalization. So that's a very heightened level of personalization. But imagine this. Well, let's take it to the CRM side for Chuck's world. And imagine that we're able to pull data together where a computer, artificial intelligence, is supporting somebody who's talking to the customer. Could be a salesperson, could be a support agent. And the computer is saying, this is who this customer is. This is what they bought before. By the way, they're just like 2,000 other customers. Exactly. The computer will say, I can tell you exactly what they're going to ask next, what they're going to request next, what you should suggest they buy next, because this is what 2,000 other customers or 20,000 other customers are doing. And that data allows us to create this incredibly personalized experience. On a level of marketing, when I receive something from Nike, if I'm in their program, they're going to send me something based on the shoes that I have bought and have shown interest in. They're not going to send me wrestling shoes. They're not going to send me basketball court shoes. They might send me my golf shoe information. What's the latest and greatest that I would want to know? And I'm going to feel like they know me. So that to me is what personalization is. In today's world, we've got this pandemic, and what we can do beyond what I think is business as normal is we can personalize the relationship a little bit. I think it's a perfect time with everybody who can't come into work, that's forced to work remotely, that might have a little extra time on their hands, to take that time to either pick up the phone or send a very personalized message to their customers. And it's harder to scale out in a major retail operation. You can do it, I think, you can do it based on AI. But if you can truly personalize, one of the things we're doing is we're sending emails and videos. I have a program. I actually use 2 video programs. I use VidReach for when I want to broadcast an email, and I use BombBomb.com. Bomb, what a name, BombBomb.
Awesome name.
bombomb.com. And if you / put Shep sent me, and you find out about what they do. But this is a great little program where I take my either computer camera or my iPhone or any mobile phone, and I do a short little video. It's as easy as hitting a red button, and then it saves it. And when I send it to a person, the video's not actually in the email. A picture is. They click on it and it opens up, so it doesn't bog down somebody's email. But it's so cool to say, hey, Jessica, it's been a while since we've talked. And by the way, this is really cool. It could be 2 years, 5 years. You can say, it's been a long time since we've talked. And we definitely should have. I shouldn't be waiting until a time like this to call you. Yeah. I'm not calling to sell anything. I'm just going through the list of people that I've done business with. I have a great amount of time on my hands as we've been quarantined and we're all working from home. And I thought I'd reach out to everybody just to say hello, let you know I was thinking about you, and hope that one day we have a chance to work together again. It can be that simple. And or you can get more personal than that. But I believe that's a great opportunity to personalize your relationship with your customers.
It's interesting that you mentioned video. Sorry to cut you off, Chuck, but because I noticed the Marriott video that was swirling, where the CEO sent one to his team, and that will probably stick with me for a long time because I have not seen any other major brand use video. It's all been the long emails, and I've read a couple good ones, but that being able to feel his sincerity and authenticity, I mean, that just stuck. It is seared in my brain.
Yep. And it's powerful to reach out to people via video. By the way, the Zoom technology that we're using today, the what they call it, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, whatever, these technologies are amazing. And what's happening is in this short period of time, we've now been, for lack of a better term, we've been going through this since late January here in the US. We finally started to quarantine and maybe work from home sometime in February. I think in the 2 or 3 months coming up, we're going to expand our capability technologically. We'll be, at the end of 3 months, we'll be where most of us will be in 3 years. And the reason is we're forced to use technology that's already there. And now that we're using it, it's not so hard. It's easy to adapt to. It's easy to adopt into our daily routines and systems. So I think that's a pretty cool place we're at right now. There's a lot of good things that are happening amongst all of this bad activity. I mean, what's bad? I mean, people say, Shep, you're always so optimistic. What's bad in your life? Well, I haven't been paid in a month, and I'm probably not going to get paid for the next 2 or 3 months because my clients who hire me to go speak at events, they're not allowed to congregate 10 or more people at a time. But what I am doing, I'm pivoting and I'm adjusting, and we're doing virtual presentations. I have, yesterday I did 3. I have 2 today. I have, I think, 2 tomorrow. And you know what, sometimes they're just like a regular speech. The prep is there and we're charging like that, but I'm not doing what I typically do. And that is get hired to go speak. So we have to learn to pivot and change, and we have to adjust to what our customers and clients are very comfortable with.
Yeah. Before we move into the next question, I have to share a personalization story that I think people will be able to relate with super quick, because I'm someone who, when I work with a big company, if they keep transferring me and I have to start from scratch,
I hate when that happens.
Oh, a whole nother Jessica tries to emerge. The older I get, the more I try and keep that down. But there's a little breakfast place. I live in Pacific Beach, San Diego, and there's a little breakfast place that I go to. I know. I go to periodically, and I love it. And in large part because I may only go a couple times a year, but they know who I am. Sometimes they remember my name, but even when I don't, they know that I go there and I need my French press because they bring them to the table. And in this current situation, they're open for takeout, and they have a brunch deal where they will give you the champagne bottle and a little mason jar of the mix-in, homemade mix-in for mimosas. And it's pretty amazing.
It's great to start the workday like that.
I did it on a Saturday, but if this lasts long enough, I might be doing it on work days.
Day just flies by.
I wanted to be the one to go pick it up because I wanted to see their faces. when I showed up, their faces lit up. We had just such a good moment of connecting of how are you really doing? And I will do whatever I can to keep them in business. I mean, I posted that I went there, that they're open on every social media. And it's because when I go, they actually see me, recognize me, acknowledge that. I mean, when my niece was in town just before the lockdown, I showed up and one of them came over and gave me a hug that worked there. I don't think she could remember my name, but she recognized my face. And
isn't that nice? Yeah.
I think a lot of people have those affinities to local places, not just restaurants. And we're seeing how meaningful that is right now.
Yeah. And I think that there's ways that we can use communication tools to try to keep that going, and maybe even build relationships with the people we don't have that level of a relationship with.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, one of the clients that I did one of my presentations for, and by the way, this is a very dangerous thing to do what I'm about to do right now. I only have so much bandwidth, but I'm calling all my past clients and saying, hey, I know, and you may have no interest in hiring me to do a speech over the next year or two. You just hired me last year. But let me tell you what I want to do for you. If you're interested, 15, 20 minutes. So many of your people are working from home. A lot of people are scared, nervous. Why don't we get on the phone? I've got a couple of important messages to share that I think one of I have these 5 tips, one of which is be a beacon of light and hope. And I want to be that for you if you want it. And here's how it works. I talk for 5 or 7 minutes, and then you ask me any question you want about what's going on. And you know what I do for a living. You've seen me speak. And we bring as many people on as we can. Well, yesterday we had 260 people on one call. We had 89 or 90 people on another call. And I'm offering this to my clients, no charge. And they're going, wow. And so is that marketing? Sure, it's marketing. Is it serving? 100%. Is it giving? Absolutely. I'm not charging them. And you know what? I don't ask for anything at the end either. That's important. And so I believe it's like a charitable contribution. When large organizations donate to the community, it is from their hearts, and I think it's great that they're giving, but it's a marketing strategy. Let's cut through the clutter and call it that too. It is. And so we need to think of some of the phone calls we're picking up just to check on people. You know what? As much as we do care about them, it is part of keeping our business going. So. And that's okay. I think it's a great way to do it. So
when you're an authentic human being and it's aligned with the values you've demonstrated all along, I think that's super powerful. If you weren't authentic and genuine and it wasn't aligned with who you'd always been in terms of really caring about serving your customers well, then it would come off as hollow.
Yeah. Oh, now you're being nice to me.
Too little, too late.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So, there's no matter what, there's going to be a human element to all this and a caring element, even with all the new technology, and we're kind of in this digital era and customer experiences evolving. And what do companies need to do in order to keep up with all the latest CX trends overall?
Sure. That's a loaded question. And whether it's good times, bad, pandemic times or not, there's several things. Lots of technologies are out there. What happens sometimes is companies become enamored with those technologies, and then they start to implement them. Now, there's 2 things that we want to remember. We may implement a great technology that is harder on our employees, even though it makes a better customer experience. It creates more hassle for the employees. Maybe there's some redundancy. Maybe I don't really care about the learning curve. You have to learn new technology, but when there's extra steps with this new technology, keep in mind that the technology has to be good for both sides, the customer and the company and the employees in the company. So we've got to keep that in mind. Number 2, companies that become enamored with the technology often find that technology is starting to replace the human-to-human interaction. There's a danger there. So there needs to be a balance. So if you're going to do a technology to try to keep people in a chat about, chatbot or some type of digital space, there should be an easy way to connect to a human from that place. And by the way, to your point, Jessica, earlier, a seamless connection, which means I've been working on something here, but now I'm talking to you. I don't have to explain it all over again. I've just typed it out in a chat bot or whatever. It should be easily, seamlessly transferable. So the balance between the two are very, very important. Chuck, I think I answered your question. I hope I did.
You made me think of a quick story. If you guys give me 30 seconds to share it, I think it amplifies what you were talking about even earlier. So I was in a restaurant. I won't say the name, although it's complimentary of the restaurant. In a breakfast setting, they don't sell breakfast, but we were doing a fundraiser there, so they let you serve breakfast there. So we had people come in and have pancakes, and I went in the kitchen where the people who don't talk to the customers are. And they had a thing like that you and Jessica, and since I hang around with folks like you guys, I would recognize now as a journey map. But it wasn't written like a journey map. It was like, these are the times where the client needs something that's really important, where we want to make the moment not miserable but magical. And they had it on a wall in the kitchen. And it struck me that, like, wow, somebody pretty smart. It looked like it was drawn with a crayon, but you could tell it was produced, but it was there to amplify what needed to be done to the people that maybe didn't see the, kind of the baggage handler person that you talked about first. And it struck me that, man, if we could get every technology project with all these really smart people to start with that, it would be 100% better.
So Jan Carlson, when he first approached all of the people in the Scandinavian Airlines organization, so he would go into every city they had a presence, and he'd go into an airplane hangar, and all of the employees would gather around. And he actually did the memo like a child's crayon drawing. I'd have to dig it up, but I know I have a picture of this. So it's like, here's a plane and a person, and it's like, that's because it's simple. Now, simple doesn't mean easy, and that's really important. So many of the things we talk about, I have 6 simple steps to do this. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Now, depending upon the size of your company, it could take 6 months or it could take 6 years.
Yeah.
But easy is not to be confused with simple. So my goal in life, and this is why I think I get hired to do what I do, is that I take sometimes what is apparently complicated or not so much common sense, and I make it simpler and feel like common sense.
100%.
Absolutely.
So the next question I want to ask, and Chuck, I'm going to ask you kind of the inverse of it after I ask it to Shep, is just a few tools, tactics that you use to maintain amazing experiences, especially in today's business climate. And Chuck, I'll give you a chance to noodle, but I really want to hear from you the ways not to use tools, especially, you work in the space of technology and you see all the time how they're misused and kind of the bad things that don't support the customer experience. But Shep, what are some of the tools and tactics that you suggest, especially in today's climate?
Tools are different than tactics. Tools to me are, automated mailings. Business goes on. So we still, every Wednesday, I have a very regimented content marketing schedule where Monday I release this, Tuesday. That I haven't stopped. Occasionally I'll talk about, coronavirus, pandemic as part of that. But I believe that certain things need to move on as business as usual, and a lot of those are automated. If you're doing sales promotions, you need to be extremely sensitive about what you're promoting, and I think that's a given. I saw a gentleman, a friend of mine today. His name's, I won't tell you his name. His initials are David Newman. David is a good friend of mine, and I love David. And he is a massive email marketer. And I really have studied how he's balanced the marketing of trying to keep his business going with, in selling versus the compassionate side and the wonderful human being that I know that he is. And it's a fascinating, I like today, he said, I do this he says, I'm sitting around, there's a lot of time on my hands. I do this for anybody that's interested. I'm only going to do this for 15 people. Now he's using the law of scarcity and a lot of technique there. He says, this is what I charged the last time. And some of the people who pay me last time might be a little disappointed to know that, hey, I'm going to charge like a fraction of that for anybody that needs help. I just want to help people right now. So floodgates are open, first 15 people. You know what? And I thought to myself, well, that's pretty smart. He did it in such a dignified way, and such a sensitive way, you know, recognizing he wasn't just doing a blatant marketing piece. He was doing it with compassion, given the situation. I think that's what we have to do today. We keep doing business. We do it the best way we can, and we make sure that we don't cross the line. I got called the other day from my cable company, and I won't tell you who they are because it was a very bad experience. There's only 2 companies to choose from here in St. Louis, so you got a 50-50 shot at getting it right. Okay. By the way, you're in San Diego. I'm in a beautiful urban area just outside the city of St. Louis.
Now you're bragging.
Yeah. I got offices in the Midwest. We don't have cows. Can't see any cows out there, but no, I see. just kidding. But oh gosh, where was I going before I got distracted here? This is what happens. Squirrel.
Oh, it'll come to me.
See, and you weren't paying that close of attention either.
Apparently.
I'm just kidding. Oh, by cable company. Okay, yeah, so what happened was she calls and she said, I think you're on a lower speed, and for the same amount of money, we can get you a higher speed. We can upgrade you. Would you be interested in that? Well, sure. No. Hey, I hope you're healthy. I hope everything's going okay. It's business. And I said, but let me ask you, are you really going to upgrade me at no cost? And then I found out, and it's not a lot more money. It's like $25 more a month. And I go, okay, can I get twice as much speed? Is that really going to make a difference? And then she says, oh, and there's a $99 charge to, and I go, okay. So we went from this costing me the same to, I said, we are done here. This is the most, and I said, I love salespeople. Call me. I'll talk to you for a moment or two till I realize we're not a good fit. And I'll say we're not a good fit and then stop. But you made a promise to me in the sense that, you know, when we came on here, what this conversation was about. And it's not that. Question for you. You calling everybody today, these are like what you normally do day in and day out. Yeah. How many people are talking to you? She goes, you're one of the few. I go, exactly. I'm a nice guy. How many people hang up on you? Almost all of them. I said, why don't you start right out of the box with caring for the person before you try selling the person? And she appreciated it. I just had to say my piece, and I got off the phone. So I can say the story continued from there, and it got worse. But that's wrong. That's just, you know, and given the opportunity to switch, when I have time, I'm going to figure out how to switch because she made me that upset.
Yeah. Well, it's the bait and switch, and you just feel like they're trying to trick you.
That's how not to do it.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I called the retention department, and so I got put on hold. This is a great story for customer service. And I'm on hold, and I mean, there's nothing telling me how long the hold is going to be. It's just on hold. And every once in a while you hear recording, we're sorry, your call is important, blah, blah, blah. Obviously it's not, but I'm working away while I'm listening. And I'm on speakerphone, a voice comes on. It's a different voice, but the person says, we're sorry. The retention department is overwhelmed with calls. And unfortunately, we will not be able to take your call this evening before we close. I looked over, it'd been 54 minutes. And I said, expletive. And I was getting ready to just hang up when the person said, what? It wasn't a recording. It was a person who came on. She sounded like a recording. And I thought, oh my God, I never cuss at a customer service person ever.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh. All right. We digress. I hope this is somewhat entertaining for the people that are listening, if not valuable.
Yeah. No. And so Chuck, have you had any thoughts on the tools and the tactics, or, you know, how people can misuse CRMs and other tools like that, especially in times like now?
Yeah. You know, you guys made me think of some things, and I'll flip it a little bit and kind of go back to the employees that are serving. And I think about it, and, you know, I've been a CRM guy for a long time, and people are only happy with CRM like half the time, and generously. And you think about why, and people don't try to make it like the restaurant thing that we talked about. And they also, like when I come in my house and I want to know what the weather is, I won't say the name of the tool because it'll talk back to me. I can talk to my phone. I can, I go and search and it's just one little bar and it gives me back stuff that I asked. There's context and there's simplicity. And then when I go in my tool that they give me at work, it feels like they really don't care about me because it looks like a form from the Social Security office or the highway department or something. It's really long. And I know these companies spend tons of money on these products, but why do I get this 8-foot long form and the guy's on the phone with me asking me questions and I'm trying to find the information, and so it seems like that part of this is again equipping the team members at a company to use the empathy they have for clients too, and helping them to do that.
No, you bring up a good point, and I think what Shep was saying earlier, that the simplifying, especially in pandemic and crisis, is keep it as simple as possible, because people, not only is their time valuable, but just the capacity to be able to, I don't know, stay in the moment on whatever they're trying to get done is probably more limited.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, by the way, if you hear background noise, I don't know if you can hear any background noise. Good, because outside apparently there's construction going on, and I don't know what's out there, but it's loud. So.
Oh gosh, there's a ton of people around us. We've got people getting a new roof, people painting their house. So apparently people are using the time to, get subcontractors and house projects done, which is awesome. I'll take any.
As long as we keep our distance.
Absolutely. So Shep, is there anything we haven't asked you about kind of the current context and customer experience that you wish we had, or?
Well, I mean, I'd love to share a few of the ideas. I've been writing about these, and this is what when the clients have me come on and just spend a few minutes with their people, I've already mentioned, be that beacon of hope or light, and be optimistic versus pessimistic. And by the way, we can be afraid. It's okay. It's okay to fear what we don't know. But I want you to take a look at what you know. And that's what you have right in front of you right now, and take advantage of that. And if we can get people to think in present mode versus future mode, that alone is optimistic.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been asking my clients to constantly be thinking about is the ability to pivot, the ability to offer alternatives. Maybe we can't do it the way we've always done it, but we can do something that's close. Restaurants can't be open, but they can offer delivery, and they can offer, pickup. And there's been great restaurants in the local area that said, look, we're not going to have a full menu, but every day check our website because we got a special of the day. You're going to want the special of the day. And some of them are just amazing. I had one friend that owns a small sandwich shop, only open for lunch. He pivoted by going to the municipality and asking what it would take to become a food market. There's a lot to that. You can't just say I'm going to be a grocery store, even a small one. There's a lot of, especially today, the way you clean and disinfect and all the rules. He did that so he can stay open, which was pretty cool. You've heard of TED Talks. You've probably watched TED Talks. As an alternative, I love this one. I was challenged to do a bed talk.
I watched
you watched it
yesterday, and I was dying.
So, and I was pretty serious about the bed talk, but I think I'm going to do another one that's going to be, the deal is you have to share relevant and important information. But the difference between a bed talk and a TED Talk is TED Talks are highly scripted. The challenge of a bed talk, when it was put out to me, is you're not on stage, you're in your bedroom, and you're doing it from your bed. Number two, it is unscripted. You just talk for under 5 minutes, not 20 minutes like a TED Talk. You have to be relevant, but it's got to be unscripted. Ready, go. Okay. And it's like, okay. And so my daughter says, you want a cup of coffee? I don't drink coffee. I'm handing you the cup anyway. While in the middle of so she's there. My wife is holding the camera. My daughter hands me an empty cup of coffee. So we just had a little bit of fun with it. That's pivoting. Doing virtual presentations is pivoting from what we normally get to do. I have some clients that have completely canceled their events while others are saying, we're going to continue the event and we're going to go all virtual. And they're doing it in such a way that allows people to have a different virtual experience than a typical virtual experience. So it's pretty cool what we're doing. So pivot, we already talked about connecting. I think that's important that we stay connected. We already talked about, here's one. Next time, plan ahead. And what I mean by that is, wait, we're in this. We hope we don't have a next time. Well, we may not have a next time quite like this, but there's no way we could have predicted we were going to have a pandemic. This thing hit us out of nowhere. It's like 9/11. It was like hitting a brick wall. The difference between 9/11 and this is that 9/11 was over when it was over pretty quick. I mean, things got back to normal. Here, we don't know we think we know. I don't think we have any real total control over it, but we could be stuck in quarantine for another month, 2 months. So have you planned for that? You know, we've been told 2 weeks here in St. Louis, or 3 weeks. But after that, have we planned for them telling us it's going to be another 3 weeks?
Yeah.
To put it in a biblical sense, Noah built the ark before the world flooded. And so that's just something to think about. The final thing I want people to think about really is that, think about what you used to have. Maybe you don't have all of that anymore. We had a lot of freedoms, a lot of capabilities. Think about what we were going to have, which were a lot of those, and think, oh, I was supposed to make this much money this year. I was supposed to go on this event this year. I was going to take my family trip. Boy, those are devastating moments, but I want you to think about, you're going to get those back. So you'll get to make them up. But what do you have right now to be thankful for? I've got 3 kids. One's in New York still. 2 of them lived in New York. One came back because she has been laid off. So now I get to hang with my daughter, apparently maybe for longer than I thought. So it's another adult in the household. I talk to my kids. We have the virtual meetings, the virtual dinners together. I mean, there's a lot to be thankful for. And we're able to do business at some level, if not even a different level that we're learning about. So a lot to be thankful for. Please have an attitude of gratitude.
Amen. Yeah, I've actually been playing Scrabble with my mom online, and that's been a new experience for her. I hadn't played Scrabble particularly, but that's been awesome. And then a good friend of mine from high school, they were supposed to be on a Caribbean cruise right now, and it was last night would have been pirate night. So they all dressed up like pirates at home, the scarves, and I mean, they were decked out. And then they were wearing their Mickey Mouse shirts because I think it was a Disney cruise. They were having ice cream cones and just really just trying to make the most of a situation. And I'm like, I bet you your kids will remember that, maybe even more than elements of the cruise.
Yeah, it's kind of what our kids are going to remember. Right now, our kids, they may show a sense of smile and fun. I think a lot of our kids are really scared. Especially the ones that are old enough to understand that their futures could be impacted. Short term. And as you get older, you see long term, you see further out. But young, I know all 3 of my kids, we've talked about, hey, how you feeling? What's it look like? So I know we're getting way off the conversation, but I love it. I do.
But it's important. And I mean, we can't ignore the context of where we are, which is why I was so happy, Shep, that you agreed to do this and to really put it in this moment in time rather than, canned and generic, which I know is actually anti what you do for even your stage presentations, that you really personalize them. And so thank you for that. And I want to call out to everyone who's watching, who kind of wants more, or I personally follow Shep. He has, I believe, a podcast where he interviews people. I don't believe, I know, I watch it. And he has a Shepherd newsletter that comes out regularly.
The Shepherd letter.
The Shepherd letter,
Content marketing schedule is like this. Monday, I have a blog that is my 5 favorite articles I read from the week before. It's like every one of the articles now is about, COVID-19, but I'm trying to find some that aren't. They're all customer service experience focused. Tuesday, my podcast called Amazing Business Radio. I just interviewed Horst Schultz for the 2nd time, the co-founder and president of the Ritz-Carlton, one of my customer service heroes, really an amazing guy. Wednesdays is my newsletter that goes out. Thursday, I do a short video, a lot of times based on the newsletter, and it's not always the same week. So a lot of companies show this at their meetings. All this is free content. Friday, I invite a guest from the customer service experience world, and usually give 1 or 2 sentences to set it up. Saturday's kind of a day of rest, not really, but Sunday I write my Forbes article. That's every Sunday. And we have a TV show that runs, it's 10 episodes a season. We're in season 2 right now. Actually going to do some interviews today for the 3rd episode of season 3.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's called Be Amazing or Go Home, after the title of one of my books. And if you have Amazon Prime or Roku, Apple TV, you can even, if you go to beamazing.tv, it's a little web page with the episodes. And we have great guests on, great authors, some businesses. I'm a huge St. Louis Blues hockey fan, and I actually had the CEO of the St. Louis Blues come on after they won the Stanley Cup this past year, and talk about how, not about the winning of the team, but how it changes the community and the business side of it. It was pretty fun. So
now I have something I can quarantine binge.
Yeah, you can binge on Be Amazing or Go Home.
Well, and apparently I chose the Go Home. That's not looking good.
Get past the first episode. You know how sometimes they say, once you get past because the first episode, it's like, what are we doing? It's like they hired me to do this TV show, and they brought me into the studio. It's a crazy story. Brought me into the studio. I go, what are we doing here? And I go, we want to show you a set that we think would be great for your TV show. I go, I don't have a TV show. Well, you will by the time we're finished with lunch today. And so it was really they made an offer to me to do a pilot. And we did a couple episodes, and they've kept it going. And once we finished, they said, we're going to do 10 shows for season 1. Once we finished those, they said they want to do season 2. Here we are. And I love these people. And so anyway, enjoy the show. Be amazing or go home.
That's awesome. And then one last thing, I know you have a training course,
Yes.
The 5 ways to create an amazing customer experience that, can you just tell us kind of how to access it? Because I believe it's free for people.
Right. Well, normally not. Normally it's for the low price of, no, I have, I believe, 6 courses that are on that suite of courses. It looks like more, but it's 6 courses. It's a group of courses we sell primarily to corporate, but we can break them up individually. And they range from $49 to $199 for each course. So what we did is as a way of giving back, and we call it quarantine training. You're in quarantine, you need to do some training. So we call it quarantine training. And all you do is go to Hyken, HYKEN.com/quarantine training. And we're going to leave it up there for anybody that wants to take it, at least while we're still in quarantine. Yep. And there's no we're not going to come after you and say, now that you've watched this, would you like to buy everything else for $800? No, it's truly what we normally charge for. We're giving it to you at no cost. And we have had, like, I noticed major financial services firm up in New York, 35 people took it the other day. And this is what they're doing. They're all taking it from their remote locations and jumping on a Zoom call and talking about it. Yeah, so this particular course is the shortest of the courses. It's a great little experience. It's only about 20 minutes to 30 minutes to get through the course, fill out the workbook exercises, and then have a discussion with your team.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yep. And before we wrap up, just if anyone needs any levity, Shep also has a cartoon that's in his blogs, which are I'm assuming you sketch them.
Yeah, I sketch them, and I have an artist help me. I come up with the ideas, because I used to do it all, but it takes me like 2 to 3 hours to do what he can do in like 12 minutes. So I sketch it out, and I colorize it for me. Yeah, but that's every Wednesday when we do the newsletter. It's part of the newsletter.
Yep. So for anyone who needs a little levity, check that out.
And some are funnier than others.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but thank you both, and Shep especially. Chuck, I make him do this because we've known each other a long time. But thank you so much for spending your time with us and just having a candid conversation and fun, the 80s rock and all that kind of good stuff. I really, really appreciate it. And I will continue following you and interacting with you on every channel.
Relatively newer stalker, but I'm in.
All right. I look forward to seeing your name out there, Chuck. So thanks.
Sounds
both
great.
of you. Awesome day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay optimistic. Remember, the good old days. The good old days were just like a month or 2 months ago. Those were the days when the Republicans and Democrats in the U.S. have been beating each other up, where, you know, we were complaining about traffic, where I was going, darn it, I didn't get my upgrade on my airline. You know what I would pay right now to be able to be on an airline to argue about the upgrade. You know? And you know what, those days are coming back, and when they come back, we're going to appreciate what we had a whole lot more than what we have right now.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
absolutely.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Thank you all.
Thanks, gents.
Thanks.